Hello again, wrestling fans, and welcome to the second episode of the wrestling radio podcast Wrestledope. I'm Darren and this is Stephen.
Hey.
Nice to have you back here again at wrestledope.com. You can also find us on twitter.com/wrestledope. You can find us at youtube.com/user/thewrestledope. You can also get us on Facebook as well, and Ustream, Podcast Alley, wrestledope.podomatic.com, and everywhere is where we're going to be in the future. But let's get straight on to tonight's subject, and that would be WWE Raw from this past week. What did you think?
Yeah, my first impressions are, honestly, I just don't know what the hell is going on with this Shawn Michaels Undertaker buzz. I don't know why they're doing it still. We said this last week, and I'll say it again this week. I'm all about Michaels taking the streak, and I'm certainly all about Michaels getting probably the recognition he deserves in a way. But what I would like to see is some kind of buzz with Michaels and Taker, and then on the same night of Mania. It's never going to happen, but in an ideal world, Michaels and Triple H, and have Michaels do a crazy match with Taker, let him go the full hour, and then let him take trips on again on the same night at Mania, end the streak, and go head on with trips.
Actually, I must say it's a fantastic idea, one I hadn't thought of. Putting in Triple H into that match at some late stage in the game at Wrestlemania, that would shock us all.
Yeah, I just think it would be refreshing, and it would. We've seen Taker and Michaels do their buzz, and like we said last week, round 2 isn't going to be. I don't think they can top what they did last year.
Indeed, Shawn Michaels cutting a promo this week, and Triple H came out. He said that Shawn Michaels was the best he was ever in the ring with. That's no surprise, seeing as we know they're part of the infamous Kliq, but the best he's ever been in the ring with? What about Nash?
Yeah, that's typical Triple H. Rubbing Michaels up big time. But at the same time, what is Triple H's buzz? Sheamus, Triple H, 3 weeks of a story to build, not real much background, no real reason by that little attack, but it's ridiculous on the creative.
It looks like a bit of a rush job, and Sheamus now looks set to be taking on Triple H at the end of the this past week's Raw. We saw Sheamus standing tall, and that pretty much wraps up what was going on with Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Of course, not forgetting that tag team match with The Miz and Big Show.
Yeah, a Miz and Big Show again, defeating DX to hold on to the titles. But my main concern is, we might talk about this a little bit later on when we're talking about WrestleMania and the full card. Some dodgy maneuvers coming out of the WWE with this build to WrestleMania. Some terrible matches being made. I don't know what the hell they're thinking. I really don't know.
Were you shocked that Shawn Michaels, in a sense, put Miz over?
Yeah, I was. And again, where do we see Miz landing with the WrestleMania card? Is he going to end up Money in the Bank? No, because once again, as we will talk about this later, they've made a match, the match made in heaven, as I'm referring to it these days. The big tag match, but we'll get into that later on in the show, so stay tuned.
And of course, Bret Hart back on Raw this week. I thought this week, more than any other, he got that fashion look down, finally.
Yeah, Hart's, he's all out, he's got it to a T. I really enjoyed actually Mahon and his promo. And I think the funniest thing about it was watching Vince in the reflection of Bret Hart's sunglasses, and he could see
brilliant shot
Vince playing the heel back to him in a reflection, doing only as Vince can do, the true heel character, to absolute perfection.
That was a fantastic shot when you did indeed see Vince reflected in Bret's glasses. It was something that really, it's the kind of thing that the high def picture really lends itself to. But moving on, I mean, I really believe that Bret has been used poorly. I think his build to this match with Vince has been handled all wrong, and there was some interesting news about an insurance policy rumour. I'm not sure if you read that during the week on the dirt sheets, but apparently there were some serious insurance type settings that Bret is insisting on before this match goes ahead. I'm not sure if you knew about that.
Yeah, I think Bret has to protect himself when it comes to this kind of thing. After the stroke, he's in no shape to be in the ring, and I think there was talk of the street fight and there was talk of this and that, but I'm sure even as it is, it's going to be fairly tame. Wouldn't rule out interference or a real one-sided Bret all over McMahon and maybe McMahon pulling it back. I think Bret will come out on top, but yeah, I think that needs to be in place, that insurance deal for Hart, because one nasty bump and it could be all over.
Well, indeed, just for the safety point of view, it really is crucial. I mean, Bret Hart, he got that kick in the head from Goldberg and he's never been the same since. We don't want to see something like that happen again, so certainly Bret putting some rules in place, if you like, in order to go ahead with this match. It's sensible thinking. You can't just throw the guy in there and expect him to work like he did in the past. Now, also, this week, one of the big topics I wanted to speak to you about and to get your reaction here on the Wrestledope podcast was, we've heard so much recently about WWE's change to a PG rating, and they're really trying to make their product appeal to a younger audience, and at the same time there's this kind of, well, they're sort of clashing with that policy, if you like, by promoting Cheech and Chong, prolific marijuana smokers.
Yeah, I think it was pretty funny to watch. I'm sure it's the only way they could. It was creative with the Lucky Charms thing. Hornswoggle obviously got whipped into that one, but I think crossing the line over the PG mark with the hallucinations and that definitely was a little strange to watch. But I thought it was entertaining. I thought it was good TV. But again, I think a little bit crossing over the line with the hallucination side of things, and very, very obvious, especially some of the references made by Cole and Lawler with the, I can't remember exactly, but there was some references to high as this or whatever. I can't remember what it was, but I think they were definitely trying to get through what Cheech and Chong were all about.
Absolutely, and certainly this fan, and I think this fan over here, would always welcome anything that isn't PG, anything that pushes that boundary a bit and brings us back to those controversial angles that we all want, is something that we're going to be happy with. But you do have to ask yourself, why will they make such a fuss about how they're going to be a PG rated show when they're going to do things like this? And it's always a case that they clash, but I'm not sure going forward what they're going to do, if they're ever going to switch back to the coveted TV 14 rating, which can make a huge change to the storylines.
Yeah, it's so safe to watch WWE, any of the shows now. I think it's actually ridiculously safe from what Raw used to be. SmackDown was always pretty safe. ECW was definitely not what it was, and you can take for granted superstars and NXT are as safe as houses. And then at the same time, you see Impact with the way it ended with Flair in a complete mess of blood.
We're going to get on to that later.
Yeah, but just the contrast between the two shows, and it'd be interesting when both are live on Monday nights over the next couple of weeks to see, will people that have tuned out of wrestling programming for the last couple of years and see the I suppose TNA laying it all out on the table for what the old school was. Maybe that's why a lot of the old schoolers turned off from WWE when they went just that little bit safe.